taping at this point?
John Strope, you ended that recording,
I ended that one, and I just started the committee, so we're rolling.
It's entitlement.
We're in your hands, Mr. Richardson.
Okay, let me announce that the Mobile City Council's Entitlement Committee meeting is now in session. Today is February 17th, 2021. The time is approximately 11:31. Members of the committee, myself, Fred Richardson is chair. Our council president, LaVon Ramsey, is on the committee, and council member John Williams make up the committee. We have council member Gina Gregory is here, and Councilman Small. Councilman Dave told me he would not be here. Council member Bess Rich is out of the city, so we are ready to go. So who do we have present from the committee, from the city?
Jamie, sure.
Yes, Jamie Roberts, and I've got Beverly Reed and Chris McGadney with me.
Okay, all right. Okay, so and we have that I say we have our council attorney Chris. Yes. He's with us. Okay. City Clerk Lisa Lambert. So we're ready to go. Mr. Roberts informed me that he has some information to share with us before we vote on it. There's a couple of items that he would like to go over with us. So what I would like to do is that Mr. Roberts present the information he has with us, and then members of the committee would lead off with a discussion, and then other council members would fall in. And I think he has two items. We're going to take one at a time, and we're going to make a recommendation when we finish that one as to whether or not to send it on to the council, and then we're going to go with the next one, and in that order. So at this time, Mr. Jamie Roberts, the Senior Director of Neighborhood Development for the City of Mobile. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jamie, to present the information that you have.
Okay. Is it okay if I share my screen? I've got a short presentation, and then I can show the budget slides also.
Okay.
All right. The host has let me. There we go. Okay, so similar to previous years, presentation mode. There we go. You can see this is the same chart I've been showing you guys for a few years now of the population versus housing units in the city since the 1950s, where there's the over housing units count versus the population overall. And this is the slide, picture version of that. In 1970s, we had a housing for 193,000 people. Population was 190,000, so there was a good equilibrium there. 2010s, you can see that basically there was overbuilding of housing units compared to the population. We had housing for 230,000 people, population for 195,000. So it kind of, the equilibrium got out of sync there, and we're trying to get that back in stabilization mode. This same slide as last year I showed you. These are all the programs we have. If you have any questions on any particular ones, we can run through that. But the three in blue on the left, those are existing that don't have gold around them. Two in brown on the right, those are two existing programs. Everything that's surrounded in gold are new since 2015. This is the bigger number, I guess, for this year is blight overall is down 53%. So we started in 2017 with our first standardized formal survey with the same staff. We've had the same staff doing it every year since then. 1,625 blighted properties, residential properties in 2017. We're down to 770 this last survey year. Half of those are occupied, so we're trying to work in a different way to deal with occupied structures, but we still have half of those are unoccupied blighted structures we're trying to take through with demolition and securing.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
Mr.
Richardson,
Yes,
Yeah, Mr. Roberts, a couple of
Yes.
slides you had back, you had some things in brown. If that's possible, if you could send that to the council, because I really could not see exactly what does it say. And
Yeah,
the second,
yeah.
and the second thing is that what do you all consider blight if you're saying that people are still living in the houses, and what do you consider blight? And the third question is the reduction from 2017 to now, which is great, but what cured the reduction? What had reduced it? Was it because we knocked down houses, or people had started investing to those particular blighted piece of properties?
So first question, not a problem. We can see the slides. That was this slide that I'm showing now. This is our existing program and processes slides. The blue is processes, the browns are programs. And then everything in gold is a new process or program since 2015. So you have the junk vehicle enforcement that didn't exist till 2018 when the state law got changed, and you guys adopted the local ordinance. Municipal lien foreclosure, similar, didn't exist previously. Non-private volunteer paint program, like we have going on Baltimore Street right now. Critical repair grant program didn't exist. Community reinvestment program, that's our blight rehab program, that one didn't exist. The Leaving a Legacy program, which is the WILL program. Micro enterprise loan program, which I'll get into in a minute, a little more with the budget. We got some new information on that. And then capacity building with nonprofits. None of those existed prior to 2015. But I'll send you that slide. As far as blight itself, that's the innovation team study that came up with the scoring system. So it's generally going to be exaggerated code violations. So anything from the street view of boarded up houses that aren't boarded properly, holes in roofs, broken windows, open to the public in general, front door missing, that kind of stuff, or multiple boards falling off the house, exposed wiring, that kind of stuff. All that pulls up as blighted on the survey. We do have people living in blighted properties, which is why we're looking at changing our programs to more adapt to responding to blight for homeowner occupied situations. We've changed how we score applicants. Not so much first come first serve anymore. It's if you're on the blight survey, you go to the top of the list because it's a need-based system.
Okay. And what had reduced the number by? I mean, which is great, but what had reduced it? Was it because the city knocked them down, the city reinvesting in properties, or landlords start stepping up, or we start finding the landlords, or what?
It's a combination of everything. So we have demolished and secured a bunch of property over the last 4 or 5 years since the budget increased that you guys passed back then, the capital budget. The HUD funding, we've inserted our own blight funding in the HUD side, so that's duplicated that effort. The municipal enforcement having the leverage of all these new laws and legislative enhancements and having the blight system in general, it's kind of put the bad landlords on notice to where they're fixing some of their own property. We still have probably 60 to 70% private compliance when somebody gets tagged as a blighted property. It's only the worst case scenarios where we have to deal with it as a city.
Okay, all right, thank you.
okay.
Yep.
Jamie,
Yes.
can you say, we started out with 1625 and we now at 770 in terms of blight. Can you say how much we have spent to take out these blighted properties?
Not an exact figure. I'd have to go calculate that, but it would roughly be, if I had to guess, $2 to $3 million collectively on direct blight programs, including the capital funding.
Okay. Do you believe that if $3 million had been appropriated to rehab these houses and resell them, we would have had enough money to do it?
Say the question again, I'm sorry.
Do you believe that if the city had allocated $3 million to rehab blighted structures and recycle them back into the system, that would have been enough money to do it?
Probably not, no, because we're demolishing housing or securing it, depending on the score, for, 2,500 to 5,000 per house. Most of the ones we get involved in, they probably would take $50,000 to $60,000 to rehab them, and they're still only going to be worth maybe 50, 60,000 in the end. So the math doesn't work out for that.
I would also say that we have an overage to housing. There's a certain amount that have to come out just to get a somewhat of a balance with a surplus. There has to be a reduction of some of these, or either we're going to have the same situation. Empty houses fall apart.
That's correct. So what we're looking at is not just the supply side, which that's what our securing and demolishing properties takes care of, is the supply side. By increasing property values, we're looking at the demand side also.
Right.
Let me just say that I don't know of a new house in District 1, a new house that is currently being built in all of District 1. I don't know where there is one housing start, one new house being built.
We built 4 on Weems, I believe it's Drive off Mobile Street.
Right.
The last one closed last year.
Yeah,
Those were all built in the last couple of years.
I agree.
And we have 3 more coming.
And I applaud that. I'm saying as of February 17th, I don't know where there is a new house being built in District 1. And the reason I'm saying that is over the last, since 2017, we've taken out so many houses for blight. People in District 1, there is nowhere for them to buy. They're having to move. A lot of them are moving out on Shillingers Road, all everywhere, because there is no available housing. It's nothing they can do. It's nothing for sale. There's no new houses. So it is almost a crisis. We keep took out all the Roger Williams, just sitting there. Took out all the Happy Hill, just sitting there. We just take them out. But it's nothing coming back. And those people are being sent way somewhere else in a whole nother community to live away from the district. So I'm certainly interested in what you can come up with to reseed some of these empty lots with new housing, using HUD funds to do it. But,
just so you're aware, there is a large piece of land in District 1 we're looking at. It's getting appraised and surveyed right now. Once it gets a little further, I can catch up with you on that one.
All right, that sounds good to me. Okay, go ahead on with the program.
Okay. Let's see if I can, since I'm in presentation mode, I'm not sure if it'll click right now.
Clear.
Start sharing that. Stop sharing that one.
Share that presentation mode. So
Let's see. Just share that link with us and we can go back and look at that.
Okay.
That's our. I'll make it a slide as opposed.
It's not going to share that.
You close the one that you're sharing and then open it and then start sharing that one.
Okay, let me
Stop sharing this one
catch you guys. That's what it is.
at the very, very top. It says,
I'll send you guys the link to the video.
That'd be awesome.
Not a long video, but it kind of explains the overall of the programs, the impact they've had, with some good pictures and video of actual project. I'll send it to you after the meeting.
All right,
Let me go back into share mode on this. All right. So these are the programs we've had, similar to last year. These are the numbers we've been hitting, as far as new homeowners assisted through down payment assistance. Had 20 houses got painted in the last 12 months, latest 12 months we have available to us. The will program is well underway. We're starting to require that for our programs internally now that we run too, including down payment assistance. We've seen positive outcomes from that. We also pay for it through legal services, so there's no burden on the buyer there. Municipal lien foreclosures, we had eight properties that are in our inventory currently. 65 junk vehicles that were towed. Backlog of SROs related to junk vehicles that got closed with Jack Dove and Jack Bishop running around chasing those. 81 houses secured, 133 houses demolished, 23 blighted units rehabbed, 16 of them were in historic districts. 5 new single family houses, 4 of those were in District 1. One is in, not sure whose district it's in, it's off Garvin's Lane, off of the Metropolis, that a police officer actually bought. And then 8 micro loans provided through two small businesses through Arsenic Kids DVE program.
Awesome. Hey, let me just stop you for just a second, Jamie.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure you got an email from me last week. A lady she's been in the program, very appreciative, but we're just trying to get some answers. Been Wednesday of last week, Adrian Reed.
I did. I was going to follow up with you. I'm not sure what she was asking actually.
Maybe you can call her. And
Okay, I'll catch up with her.
the work's incomplete. It didn't give me very much detail either, but said the work was not completed.
Okay, I'll catch up with her today.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Yeah, another question. I understand that the police officer had purchased the last home, which was in District 4 off of Dermatopolis Road. My question is the city still offering, assistance to the first responders for like the housing that we have available for them to go in to remodel or rehab, et cetera?
No, they're eligible for our down payment assistance. They could be eligible for other programs we have. There's one that's geared towards them in down payment assistance though, where we offer twice the amount of down payment assistance on those. This officer actually got into a regular developer funded program where the developer's building a house and he was offered up to $20,000 for down payment on that house, brand new construction. Actually lives next to his mom now.
Awesome.
So it's quite a unique situation there. Typically, that program is going to be open to early entrants coming into the police department. Once they're here for a couple of years, they make too much income for the HUD income limits. But if we can catch them early on or while they're in academy, that's where the numbers kind of line up well. Same for the fire department.
Are we making that known as far as a tool for recruiting officers and firefighters about this particular program?
Yes, Chris McGadney goes to those academy meetings and he meets with them and tries to get the word out around that.
Yeah, Tony needs to do that as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Actually, the way we came up with that originally was I was at a neighborhood meeting with Tony McCarron and he started talking about the things he does, and it hit me that some of their guys qualify for our programs. That's where it came from initially about 4 years ago.
Yeah, make sure he's still using it. That's a good program.
Yeah, I think that would be a great tool as far as then, really in new officers and new firefighters, if they know that that job will consider, some type of help of, getting housing and everything. But I think that would be a great tool if Mr. Tony can get that information, and even if the city can even promote that more on the social media page and, and et cetera. Because again, I really believe that, people may invest more into being an officer and firefighter, and then they see that, there are some potential of, being, great help there, especially with the, living situation and stuff. And also, what I was thinking too, even these other properties that we do have that's throughout the city. And I understand with the first responders that they can take the vehicle home, and that could be some type of city vehicle in the neighborhood, help to the crime. But the other properties that the city do have and need to get rid of, especially blighted properties, that we can also offer other, employees some type of assistance too, to get some of these properties, off the city of Mobile. But thank you, Mr. James.
Yes.
Damon,
go ahead.
Before we go any further, let's just say a police officer took advantage of this assistance, down payment assistance, how long would they have to live in the house?
If it's less than $15,000, they have to be there for 5 years. It's forgiven 20% a year, so there'll be a prorated amount if they moved out. If it's over 15,000 to 20,000, it's 10 years with the same prorated, but over 10 years, so 10% a year.
Okay, well, the reason I said that because it probably would help keep them from running somewhere else.
Right.
So it's good. It's good. Okay.
So to me, the most important thing on this slide is the bottom one. We haven't had an audit finding from PUD in 6 years. I guess 6 years now. When I got here, there were actually 2 open findings. We closed that the first year I was here. But no findings since then. That's, to me, the most important thing is we keep our credibility with HUD when we're dealing with that. But also, you know, haven't cost the city a dollar as far as match funding. We've used alternative match ways to do home match. There is a 12.5% required match on that. Nobody's been displaced. You have the blight numbers there. We've extremely simplified the developer and homeowner applications. Those went from 20, 30 pages each with lots of follow-up back and forth to homeowner applications 2 pages now. Developer applications 8 because we do have to have financials from them. We have 3 certified fortification evaluators, which on our new constructions, we require fortification. That's a benefit to the buyer. One of the houses we sold on Weems with the developer, the payment was $450 a month, including insurance, taxes, everything. Brand new house, $125,000 sales price.
That's awesome.
Good.
And then
I'm moving.
And then we're coordinating with the housing board to get direct developers to neighborhoods near public housing, like the Maines property you guys rezoned today. So that's our focus now, is trying to get those up and going. Housing authority still has some issues they're dealing with. We're still helping them along, having them sign vouchers here and there, but not all on one property like they have in the past. And then that's the actual property there. That's the proposal.
Can you make that at all?
I'm sorry?
Is it possible to make that any bigger at all? Can we make that a single slide?
This slide is on there now.
Yes.
We can't really see any of that.
I'll send you the slideshow. It's not
You'll
sharing
be able to
very
make
well.
a single slide instead of a slide and a slide to come. There's an option
Yeah.
for it to be single
Yeah.
slide.
I guess I do that, yeah.
I can click that. Yeah, that'll work too.
That
That'll
help?
work. That's better.
I can zoom in.
All right. Yes, that's as big as it's
That
going.
help at all? If I go much bigger, it's going to start getting.
All right,
zoom.
let's say that.
So the left side of this is the Hertel Street side. And
Okay.
this actually is not the newest one with the 8-foot fence around, but the 8-foot fence is on the newest map since Friday. So Hertel Street side, this is the family area here. It's 94 units proposed. Assuming we get site
Wait a
control.
minute now, is this what's on the council agenda today?
This is the
Yes.
one with zoning, was approved today.
So the city is buying this property?
No. School
We
board.
are the school board owns it currently. We're attempting to buy it from them, and the developer's already proposed to.
That's what I'm saying.
How's
That
it going?
the school board owns it, but the city is trying to buy this property. So
Now we're going to transfer it to the housing board. Yes.
huh?
To a private developer in coordination with the housing authority.
Yeah. Housing authority will manage it all. Yeah.
Okay, so what? Because this is the first time I'm hearing. Tell me what you plan on doing.
So the left 7.5 acres roughly here, it would be family housing, 94 units, traditional 3-story property, retention pond right there. And then the right 7.5 acres, this will be phase 2. And because of the timing, this will probably be a 2022 tax credit application cycle. This is going to be a current tax credit application going in as soon as we get a hold of the property with the developer. This one would be 56 units of senior only in the back. So 150 total units. I think it was 110 or so vouchers associated with it from the housing authority.
See, that's cool.
Jamie, you probably should mention that it's all affordable housing.
Yeah, every bit of it's affordable housing because the tax credit piece on it. The bigger pieces for me as far as the development are that we won't own it because we're not good landlords. The housing authority won't own it because they're not good landlords. The developer will own it, and they'll have the housing authority, the city, the IRS, and the state housing finance authority watching them because we'll all be inspecting it annually.
Okay, so how much is all of this going to cost?
It'll cost the city between $2 to $3 million, depending on the acquisition and the demolition of the school. It'll be a $35 million project. Most of that's coming from the state.
That's great.
All right. Let's move on.
And then that's too big now. Get back to smaller.
Jamie, should you mention the funding, the CD, where that funding comes from?
It's a combination of CDBG and home. CDBG likely, and then we're still maneuvering the numbers because it's one of multiple projects we're working on. We got to make sure they all stay in eligible categories, but likely to be the acquisition and demolition with CDBG and the housing, new construction with home funding.
The point there, Councilman, is that, we're not putting general fund or capital funds from the city into it. These are all CDBG funds and home.
Correct.
Okay, and I've already told Jamie I would like for some new houses to be built in District 1.
We actually are working on a property in District 1 and one in District 2, and I think one in District 4 is the other location.
Councilman, we want them built in District 1 also. It's not an exaggeration when I tell you that we've been trying to work this deal for probably 18 months to get to where we are today.
Yeah, it's 18 months of us directly involved with the developer, and then at least 12 months back and forth with the school board. And then another 6 with the housing authority bringing them along into it also. So that's the actual presentation. I can jump to the budget slides if you guys are ready.
Okay, so one other item. Have we secured the property?
As far as the structure itself?
No. Do we have a title to the property?
Not yet. That's our next step. We were trying to get that before zoning change, but the school board went ahead and listed it for 30 days for sale. We got about 20 more days on that, so we're waiting that out. We do anticipate getting that at the end of the term there.
But if I could, I'm sorry, I had an important call, and so I'm just jumping in. Mr. Richardson, I'm not cutting across you, am I?
Come on, no, come on.
Well, Mr. Chair, if I could, I hear all of the benefits of the project that we've been discussing the last few minutes. And I guess, Mr. Roberts, my question to you, as you've had discussions with potential developers and the housing authority, is something of this nature and magnitude being planned or even possible out in the Happy Hills area?
That one is a little different because the location of the railroad tracks, the industry is north on the interstate. It's not going to get through a 9% tax credit application. The state will throw it out. It has a possibility, slim but still possible, to get through a 4% tax credit application with the state. We have a developer looking at it right now to see if it's feasible. We're also waiting, while we don't own it, we're waiting on the brownfield assessment for it that environmental engineers working on.
And you said because of the railroad tracks?
It's a environmental justice issue potentially. If it's too close to railroad tracks or a combination of railroad tracks, industry and interstate, then HUD wouldn't let us build on it. And the state wouldn't let a tax credit application go through on it either.
Cause see, you know, it almost sounds like Meridian at the port with all of those amenities you just named. And that has been, at least from all indications, successful. So I would hope we'd be able. I know it's not an apple to apple comparison, and I understand that. But I would hope that parcel, or those parcels of land, as we're working through the potentiality of this project, that hopefully that'll be somewhere next in the pecking order to try to get something done.
We are looking at it. It's just gonna be a little more difficult because of those surrounding issues.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
One last thing on that.
Yeah.
Was it my understanding today that we are changing from multiple zoning categories to R1? Is that what was before? Wasn't that what was before us?
On that property I just showed you, it was going from R1 to R3.
Okay, all right. All right.
Mr. Rob.
Yes.
Pardon me, Mr. Chair, if I could.
You come on.
I want to make certain I have some clarity on that property. The school board has done what now at this point?
We were in negotiation on pricing with them, and they decided to go ahead and put it up for sale at appraised value, which is, I think, much higher than most anybody's going to come at. But we're kind of gauging that day by day to make sure we don't get outpriced. So it's up for sale officially with the broker for another 20 or so days.
Do we have first right to refusal?
We do not.
So we are in limbo.
Sure. We can't afford to market. Makes the development out, it gets it out, the numbers out of whack.
It makes it tough, not only for that property, but it makes it tough to do other ones we're looking at also, because we're trying to maximize our funds.
Call your favorites. Well, I say that, would it be helpful for us to contact our school board representatives, or do you want us to stay out of the way?
I don't know if the mayor has a feeling on it anyway. I think it's, at this point, we're letting us run its course is our plan.
We'll do that.
All right, move on then.
Okay. So I think I'm still in share mode. I'm not sure which mode I've clicked in and out of at this point, but can everybody see this, the CDBG proposed budget?
Budget is not up.
Okay. You said it's not up?
It is
No.
not.
Okay, let me see if I can get.
We're still on the 3 circles and the rectangle.
Gotcha.
Change, go back to stop sharing and then reshare.
I'm gonna have to stop sharing and reshare this particular one.
There you go.
There we go. Everybody see that one now? It may take a second to load also.
And I found something at the bottom of the screen. You hit the plus button and it'll give you all the committee members up across the bottom, just for edification. I didn't know it was there.
Can you see the budget now?
You can see the budget.
Okay. So there's not any major change on this proposal. The only real change is going to be the administrative funds. We can charge 20% against the grant. We're proposing not to. We do have a few other grants, CARES related, where we can not take the max this year. And we'd like to put that into the majority of it in micro enterprise loan program that Archnick Kid manages for us. That's our small DBE Section 3 companies coming through as a startup or trying to expand 5 or less employees, including the owner's low to moderate income. Getting them up to $2,000 in a loan, or if they go to Bishop State, get their training done on QuickBooks, that kind of thing, the loan's forgiven. The only uses of that loan are bonding, license, insurance kind of things things that help them get in their field to where they're going. Most of it's with the city. So we have small contractors coming through to do housing rehab, but they can't get licensed, so they can't get in the bid section. This helps tear that barrier down for them. The only other real increase, $10,000 here for a volunteer paint program. Everything else is generally the same. Let's scroll down and show you guys the rest of it. Public services, the only reason we're looking at less on that is because we had less applicants. You can see the couple did not apply this year. And then we had a couple of set-asides last year for certain types of things that are still in the works. That last one there is the weed and seed program. That 12,000 is still there. COVID put a kink in our process of trying to get a nonprofit started in the Baltimore Street area for the weed and seed program. So that is still available to them. We've got to get those talks back up and running now that people are starting to meet again.
Hey, Jamie, did Altapoint Big Brothers even tell you why they didn't apply?
Who was that?
The two that didn't. Yeah, Altapoint and Big Brothers.
Chris is here and he dealt directly with that. I think they just didn't apply. I don't think we got a response.
That was a change of staff, of key personnel within the organization, and they just forgot to apply, and they missed the deadline to get the documentation into us.
Wow.
All right. Okay, so with the weed and seed, I don't hear nothing much about that. Is that citywide?
It's in District 3. That's, yeah, it may blend into a little bit. It's kind of from Texas Street down to 1010 Baltimore area. Goes down a little bit further south. Doesn't quite get over to Birdville, but it's very close to Birdville.
Well, in the past,
there is no, I'm sorry?
we've had weed and seed for districts 1, 2, and 3. So I know.
Councilman Richardson, this is Anitra. So the Weed and Seed program federally is no longer a program. What the U.S. Attorney's Office was doing was a Weed and Seed initiative similar to the program, and they were focusing on the Baltimore Street area.
Okay, so this is not a federally funded program?
No, sir. The Weed and Seed federal program ended a couple of years ago, but what Eric Day did was take the strategies from that federal program and tried to focus it in the Baltimore Street community.
Okay, so we need, I don't have nothing against you starting in the Baltimore Street, but you're gonna have to take this program on across other districts. So I wanna know when are you coming to District 1 with weed and seed?
So this is led through the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Oh, they're putting the money up?
So the strategies are led through their office.
Where's the money coming from?
This 12,000, so the left side's last year's budget, the right side's this year's budget. So we're not adding more into it. The 12,000 we had put towards that was in coordination with the U.S. Attorney's Office. But it's really because there is no nonprofit that is actively in that area doing social programs other than United Methodist a little bit to the north. We're trying to set up a nonprofit that coordinates all the other groups down there.
Maybe you all started a program rehabbing houses. You went down on Texas Street in that area, rehabbing houses, and it fell short of coming to District 1. You would weed and seed. I'm saying you can't keep leaving District 1 out. You can't leave, almost all of Crichton on the north part of it needs rehabbing, yet I can't get the program over there to start rehabbing the houses over there in the Crichton area. But you go to the south part of the city and you try to tie that in with some other well-to-do community. But I'm saying you can't keep using these funds and not and ignore District 1
or District 4.
Right.
Come right across from Maysville, across McVeigh, and you got plenty to work on.
Right. The more likely location for that funding, though, would be under the volunteer paint program. You guys have active nonprofits in your areas. I know there's a Crichton-Toulonville CDC we've worked with before.
Right.
And that's more likely up here where it says volunteer paint program, where we'd have a targeted program with those nonprofits in those areas. That lower number was to actually set up a nonprofit because there's not one that exists in the area that we were talking about, Baltimore Street.
Okay.
I'm just sounding it along. We can move on.
Okay. That's the CBG budget. ESG, that's the homeless providers.
Jen?
Yes.
Mayor. Mr.
Mr.
Mayor, you
Mayor,
there?
come on. Did I hear you, Mr. Mayor?
Let's roll. He'll come back.
Come on, Dan.
So this is
All right,
absolutely no
can you hear us?
change.
Can you hear us now?
Go ahead.
Hold
There you
it,
go.
Jamie.
Our name here.
Councilman Richards, this is Jim Barber. I'm going to build off of what Anitra was telling you about. The Weed and Seed is not a federally funded program. As you remember, it's really, they're just using the terminology of Weed and Seed. But the Baltimore Street area down into R.V. Taylor was actually selected. It was a data-driven process of where we were seeing the most violent crime and gang activity. And it was a big meeting between Anitra's group, as well as the Mobile Police, FBI, the ATF, U.S. Marshals, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the District Attorney's Office to select this area to laser focus all of our resources to try to get some of the gang and violent activity out of there. So that's where the terminology Weed and Seed, but really it was a cooperative interagency effort to reduce gang violence in that area.
That's say the more information, and I can understand that. I don't have nothing against that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you understood we were not avoiding District 1. It was just, the selection was just based off of violent activity in that area.
Okay, it's the first time I heard that, and I can accept that. That's good.
Thank you.
ESG.
So this is the ESG budget, the homeless provider budget. No change here except for legal services has been swapped in for Lifelines. The Lifelines program has moved over to legal services essentially. Lifelines just couldn't spend the money the way they're set up to get the people coordinated for housing.
Right.
The way legal services is doing with our CARES funding, they have that program set up to intervene with people going through eviction. So this will allow them to use regular funding when they have somebody that's not CARES eligible to keep going with the regular funding on the normal situations to intervene on evictions. But other than that, there's no change on this at all from last year.
Who stepped up during COVID and who didn't, and what's their measurement for performance for the years to come based on that lesson learned?
So say it again. I'm gonna make sure I got the question right.
There was some especially at the initial stages of COVID and the pandemic scare that took place very early on. Some nonprofits that we work with concerning homeless and especially right here, it was said that they didn't quite make the mark and have their contracts been rewritten. What lessons did we learn with regard to a pandemic and those who were paying to serve those in this category?
So none of these nonprofits actually closed. They kept going throughout the whole pandemic. They've modified processes in some ways, but they all stayed open.
Okay, so we feel
Go
like
ahead.
they met the mark. They met their performance objectives.
Yes, and we have much stricter contracts with the HUD funding than the typical performance contract. We track that throughout the year and have beneficiary data at the end of the year that's
Thank you.
collected.
Thank you.
Then this is the proposed home budget. Again, no difference from last year. This is the one that goes to developers typically in coordination with usually larger projects. We have modified our single family construction projects to where we're incentivizing developers bring in the bulk of the funding. And so we incentivize with a developer fee and a finance fee and that kind of thing. Our average cost per new construction house to the city with HUD funding is only $40,000. The developers are bringing in everything else. And like I showed you with that larger project, when we put in $2 to $3 million, we're getting a $35 million project back. So that's where this funding is going.
Awesome.
And last slide, this is the proposed ADECA funding. They got a separate allocation of CARES CDBG funding. And they don't typically award to the cities directly to get their own grant from HUD, but in this case they can, and so they are. And so they're looking at giving us $1.5 million. And we have a 20% cap of administrative costs, but we're only looking at 200,000 there instead of the full 300,000. Again, we have multiple different grants we can pull from, so we don't need the full 300,000, I don't think, at this point, which allows us to put that extra 100,000 in programming. 250,000 projected to be towards public service activities. We have an RFP out right now. We expect those proposals back Monday. It's Tuesday. So we should have a better idea of which public service providers. And then the rest of the funding going to acquisition and rehab of low-mod housing, which is likely to be property that it could even be MLS, but property that's not fully up to code, where we rehab it and put some in as a rental property.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have any area you're going to focus on?
That would be citywide. That's going to be dependent on where we can pick up property.
Okay, so what about, we didn't have many today, but what about all of these properties coming up on the council agenda to be demolished? What about getting a quick claim deed on some of those and rehab them and put them back on the market?
So it's much more likely to be the ones that we're looking at securing, that we foreclose the lien on after we secure it. Most of the time when it comes up to demolition for the council, we've either been talking to the owner or can't get a hold of the owner. And in neither situation does the owner want to do anything, and they're not very likely to do the paperwork to sell this property either.
Yeah, but if they haven't paid the taxes, you can't find the owner. The city can go to the state and get a clear title.
It's at that point, it's a tax deed. We have to wait for 3 years of tax delinquency. And depending on where it is, if it's in a redevelopment area, we can sometimes invest in those. And if somebody redeems, we get our money back. But if it's not in a redevelopment area, it's completely unsecure and we can't invest in those at that point.
So have you all used the Quiet Title Act at all?
Yes. We have about 50 to 60 properties in inventory right now. And those are the ones we're looking at to start with on this. And they're scattered around the city. They're all over the place.
Okay. Okay.
That was it. That's the last slide there.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the council for approval as presented.
Can I get a second, Mr. Vice
Second.
President? Okay, we got a motion second, meaning that these items will be placed on the council agenda. Jamie, when you're going to plan on getting them up there?
The regular annual budgets, I'll try to get on for next Tuesday. The ADECA funding would be the week after that, depending on when those proposals come in, how fast we can score them.
Okay. Okay. So do we have any more questions, statements to make from anybody? If not, I think all the.
Don't forget the radio there, Mr. Reed.
Did you hear what John said, Damon?
I didn't hear him. It cut out a little bit.
Don't forget my resident, if you will.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll call her in just a second.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Okay. If all minds are clear, we can consider. I thank everybody for participating. I think it's been enlightening, and I think and if all minds are clear, we're going to consider this meeting adjourned.